Fairview's coffee has mysteriously gone missing. Mayhem ensues when strange, coffee-craving zombies plague the city. Detective Mickey Potatoes, an overworked public servant, uncovers why ordinary citizens are losing their minds and how to stop the coffee apocalypse. But it involves the mafia. And when you're dealing with mafia crime families, nothing is ever easy. The mafia controls everything in the city, including the police, including him. If he breaks the mafia, they will break him. So, the city is without coffee. The city is burning before his very eyes, but he's powerless. Detective Potatoes has the power to stop the coffee apocalypse, but if he does, he could lose everything.
Alright, boys and girls, this is Ron from Romo Art, also from Sector 7. Alright, take 2. Nope.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going. It's going. I'm ready for tonight.
It's going all right. Let me actually close. I'm gonna close our bedroom door because I can hear you, and then there's a lag, so I can hear you from the girls' room, and there's a lag. So, and I want to be fresh because I know it's gonna be a tough sell to sell the '80s as the best decade ever.
You need all the help you can get. Go ahead.
Yeah. The 80s.
If you don't agree, you weren't there. That's all. I mean, what the fuck? That's all.
But I was there.
You were.
I was there for half of it.
How much were you? What were you? What year were you born?
85.
So, yeah,
still
so
counts.
you only remember like the last 2 years of it, maybe.
Oh, please.
True enough. But
I wasn't. I mean, I was there in the 70s, but I really wasn't there in the 70s. I mean, I was.
True.
My first memory was probably in 79.
True. I'm much more of a 90s kid than an 80s kid for sure. I get what you're saying. Like when people ask,
I was born in the 70s, but I'm an 80s kid. Like you were born in the 80s, but you're a 90s kid.
Right. Yeah. I would agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Britt, God only knows. 89, my young hot wife.
I'm a 90s kid.
Unbelievable.
Interesting. So I don't know where you want to start with this. I'm kind of just in this place where there's like two things I feel like the 90s didn't have and have in more abundance or better than the 80s. And I'm like, so I'm like struggling to get there. Like, I'm like, either there's very few things I think the 80s did straight up better that we didn't just either still have or
but that's the point. Like anything good in the 90s probably happened. I mean, okay, except for, let's say, grunge music. If you liked grunge music, if you didn't, then it wouldn't matter. But besides like Nirvana and that, anything good in the 90s was really the first half. And then it started to get more dark and depressing towards the 2000. And, you know, it's like the last bit of the deck of what the 80s gave the 90s. And then it just traveled off after like 95, 96, 7. It wasn't that great.
No, I don't know if I agree with that. There was a lot of really great stuff in the 90s. I would say 90s comedies were amazing. Not to say that the 80s were any slouches, but that continued on right up until 2000, where like I remember like The Waterboy, which I still consider a classic comedy.
And that's what I was gonna say, like Adam Sandler.
Yeah,
okay.
And Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey's best stuff by far was in the 90s. So
yeah,
you had
for sure.
Yeah, you definitely had like, and granted, like some of his bigger ones were in the earlier night. I'm trying to think. Ace Ventura was 93,
95.
94.
It was like 95.
Was it really that late? Holy crap!
I'm pretty sure it was 94 or 95.
What's up, Pixel?
What have I missed?
We're arguing. We're starting this
versus
debate about the 80s versus the 90s, Pixel. So let's just go here.
What do you got? What do you got?
What do you want to bring to the table?
So I have a PowerPoint presentation, and it's only a few slides long. So if you want to go ahead and go off of that with some picture cues or whatever, that's kind of what I was thinking. So we don't get too sidetracked. What do you think?
Ron,
let's do the PowerPoint first, because I know the first night that we were arguing, this is what you did for the rest of the night. So because you just love proving me wrong, which is rare. It's rare.
I don't.
I want to see it. I want to see
if I can share it. Okay, so give me.
You
minute.
Should be able to, right? I mean, you're a '90s kid.
Oh, look at that!
Means she's.
I think I got it.
More computer literate. Is that where you were going with that?
Yeah, I didn't have the internet when I was a kid.
It's true.
Okay, can you guys see it? Because I have it full screen.
Not yet.
Nope. Did you hit present on StreamYard?
It says StreamYard is sharing a window.
Then it definitely should be. We should be seeing it.
Hang on, let me see.
Oh, it's coming.
There we go.
All right. And it's funny because that pick is very 80s.
It definitely could be. It's 80s colors, but it could definitely be 90s as well. Early 90s.
Early 90s is just lag over from the 80s. That's going to be my whole argument for 90s. Anything good?
Sure. No, those are not like neon. So those are like, no, that's okay for us to use those colors. Okay.
Yeah, it was very 80s. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Can you see this screen?
I can kind of.
Yes.
I'm on a tiny tablet, so I can't see much. It's okay though.
So I'm letting you have movies because there are more movies from the 80s that I like than 90s.
Okay.
But there are some excellent, like the Spider-Man ones, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans.
Yeah, there's some good 90s. There's good movies in any era except for now. Yeah.
So I think 80s beats us in movies, but 90s beats you in TV.
Bullshit.
Oh no,
it's
for
not
real.
Possible. It's not possible.
Really?
Okay. Go ahead. Go. Let me see your PowerPoint.
I need some popcorn.
I'm showing you it. I'm showing you the PowerPoint.
Yeah, but this is. Oh wait. 90s. Okay, I understand what you did. 90s for TV, 80s for movie. Okay. But what you left out of 80s TV, the Cosby Show, and Bill Cosby probably did not do what they accused him of doing, which I thought he did. If anyone wants to see a really good explanation of what we weren't told about Michael Jackson and Bill Cosby, It was, honey, who was it? It wasn't the drinker. It was the, damn it. It was the rock and roll guy who does movie reviews and shit.
Oh.
It wasn't Critical Drinker. It was the one that has the long black hair. He's like a rocker.
I remember watching it. It was great.
I fucking forget his name, but this is a very big sidetrack, but really interesting. The same lawyer who tried to get Michael Jackson is the same one they used to try to get Bill Cosby. Both those guys probably didn't do what they were accused of. Anyways, so I'm throwing the Cosby Show in there because, you know, maybe 2 years ago I wouldn't have, but now I am. We had Cosby, we had Cheers, we had Night Court, we had Taxi, we had so much. I think Little House on the Prairie was also 80s, even though my mom watched it. I didn't watch it, but we had okay, cartoons. I mean, now, 90s had some good cartoons. I know. Tommy Boy is damn near perfect. Yeah, sure, absolutely. But so are all the European Vacations with Chevy Chase. Almost all of them are fucking almost all of them are almost like perfection. European, the regular vacation, European Vacation, Christmas Vacation. But we had Transformers, G.I. Joe, Thundercats, Silverhawks, and then Mask. Mask was that was a gem. That came and went pretty quickly, but that was big when it was there. So we got TV. We have both. We have everything.
Okay, we have Bruce Timm's Batman and Superman Adventures for TV.
Yeah, you do. Okay.
We've got Family Guy that debuted in '99.
Yeah, you do.
Simpsons, Seinfeld. And we're also taking Batman because it's
you
only
can't
fair.
Have Batman. It was in 19. I don't give a shit. It was in 1989. Okay. It was in '89. I don't care. You can have this. You can have.
We get returns. We get returns.
Okay, which is fine because Michelle Pfeiffer was the best Catwoman. She just was. So can you better let me. You better let me right now.
I think you better let her. Right?
Michael Keaton's Batman came out in '89.
Yes.
And the sequel was after and in the 90s. Simpsons debuted in '99. Seinfeld debuted in '99.
Simpsons didn't debut in '99.
Those
Simpsons
are '90s shows.
So I get the Simpsons too.
No, we get them because everybody knows they're a '90s show.
I will give you the Simpsons since the bulk of the Simpsons was after it. I'll even give you that one.
And you're only saying that '80s was the best because everybody knows, everybody thinks the '80s was the best. Well, everybody knows that The Simpsons and Seinfeld and Batman are '90s media. So
since when do I tout what everyone knows as a point to be taken seriously?
That's true.
I am not the guy that goes with the majority ever. But
so
go ahead.
I'm with you on the movies. Like the movies is tough because like there's some really good ones. And I was even thinking like The Great Outdoors with John Candy and Dan Aykroyd is one of my favorites of all time. 88.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah, that was phenomenal. I love John Candy in general. There's just so many. Actually, Pixel brings up a good point. The Simpsons have aired for so long. The majority of it exists outside the 90s now. It's true. Although same could be said for South Park.
Simpsons is now multi-generational. But you know what? South Park. I would give South Park the 90s.
South Park.
Oh yeah, it was 96 for sure.
Even though it's gone on longer now,
right?
I would still say if it was created in that era, it should be. It would. You can call claim to it.
Yeah, I definitely think. I don't know. I still
Pops, absolutely all those Brat Pack movies.
Well, I can match The Breakfast Club. We had 10 Things I Hate About You. And that is on par. Absolutely on par.
That's not even close. Get out of it.
You're nuts. You're nuts.
As the targeted audience for both of those movies, I can say Breakfast Club was far superior to 10 Things I Hate About You. I'm not saying anything against
10 Things I Hate About You is based on Shakespeare.
I know.
You plebeians.
I'm aware. Yeah, okay.
And Breakfast Club was based on real life, bro.
Breakfast Club was based on the fad that was Molly Ringwald. Oh, sorry.
Spaceballs.
I don't know why I have a grudge against Molly Ringwald.
Money Pit.
Money Pit was great.
Money Pit.
Was great.
I did not care for The Godfather. Money Pit. That's from
Money
Family Guy. You guys get that one.
Well, I just had another one a few minutes ago, and I'm actually going to say outside of when it comes to music, because you brought up music earlier.
Yeah, I'm going to go to that slide.
You brought up grunge, and I'm going to say, yes, there was grunge, but we also had like nu metal, which say what you want about, jokes like Limp Bizkit, but Korn, Slipknot, Disturbed, those guys are all still going really strong today. You also have, I think the pop rock alternative genre during the 90s was far and away better, and actually holds up a lot better. Like if you go back and listen to some of the pop rock groups at the times, like Tonic and just Third Eye Blind, I'm not a huge fan, but like they're really catchy tunes. They're really well produced. I think there was like this really great talent. I don't know, the 80s to me, I just remember Duran Duran and I want to puke.
Yeah, Duran. I have 2 words for you. Phil Collins.
Ew.
Phil Collins.
Ew.
Argument settled. We had Phil Collins. I just heard his song coming home today. I'm like, holy shit, this settles it for me. Now, here's the thing. I get it. You're making very good musical points. You're making very good, and it's going to come down to opinion of what you like. I would say the 90s had more of a variety of music, and the 80s is like one solid decade of like synth. You know what I mean?
It was a lot of synth, yeah.
That's why I love it. I fucking love synth. The whole synth wave, that's all come back. And I know it's nostalgia bait, but people don't have nostalgia bait for the 90s. And I don't think in 10 years you're going to see like a rise in flannel. I don't think that's true though. I think people are super nostalgic for the 90s.
Okay. Emo bands, every emo band, every even a little bit heavier than emo band, like Stained and so hang on. So like My Chemical Romance and whoever the other ones were with the black eyeliner, they all had black eyeliner. That's a huge nostalgic thing for anybody who was in like older elementary to high school kids.
Okay.
In the 90s, that's why I put Natalie Imbruglia up here.
Oh my goodness, Natalie Imbruglia. I said, even their pop music was better in the 90s.
So here's the thing. I think we're going to have to separate the type of nostalgia that we're talking about. There's going to be personal nostalgia, which I understand. I get for personal nostalgia, there's things in the 90s that I miss too. I'm talking about what they're pushing. I mean, and it's not us, but what they're pushing as societal nostalgia is 80s. And I don't think in movies or like even all the things like Stranger Things, that's all 80s. The Godzilla King Kong, that whole movie was 80s. All of it was 80s. I don't think that like in 10 years, they're going to start pushing 90s nostalgia. And I just don't. I think the 80s work because even though you guys had definitely a better range of music, I'll give you the range was way better. The 80s was fucking fun. And that's most of my point is that the 80s was so fun. The clothing in the 90s, me and Britt were talking about this. The clothing in the 90s was better. It was better. The women started to dress sexier. But let me tell you, in the 80s, the kids dressed like kids. I mean, not in, let's say I'm keeping out California and New York City. But the kids dressed like kids. The adults dressed like adults. And everything was fun. and it looks ridiculous. You guys, 90s had better looking clothes. The 80s had fun.
So I don't know if Matt is on TikTok, but I'm on TikTok, and Ron, you're not on TikTok. There's a flood of women who are calling attention to Target and other fashion outlets, clothes outlets, for bringing back Y2K style, Mary-Kate and Ashley clothing lines, everything that everybody wore in the 90s. There is a push right now for nostalgic fashion.
I'm not on TikTok, but there is a guy, not a guy, a girl that does these like things you only understand if you grew up in the 90s, and like all these like super nostalgic things. So like, and she's got like, I don't know, probably hundreds of thousands of followers anyway. She's pretty popular. It comes up in my feed fairly often. The only thing I think looks totally ridiculous about the 90s is actually the Jinkos, because it was like basically wearing a parachute around each pant leg, kind of thing. You know, that was the one thing I thought was
Val,
really. Hi, Val.
Val just popped up when you said Jinkos, and immediately I thought of Val. Holy shit, that's crazy.
Yeah. So, and actually, she's the one who was mentioning it. Actually, the picture reminded me of it because I see one person in there with that, and Pixel. Yeah, new metal is kind of making a comeback, and I don't really know why it fell out of favor. I think it was the Limp Bizkits of the world that really kind of gave it a bad name because it was kind of shallow and just really poppy, and Fred Durst.
I liked it, but I like the 80s, which is very shallow and poppy. So
yeah, like I think that there's actually bands that are out that are audibly almost indistinguishable from Korn. I'm a giant. Well, yes, Valiant Korn. I'm a huge fan. I saw them 13 times live, so that was like a huge part of my childhood growing up. There's so many places we could go with this in both directions. Like,
but okay, let's say then, and again, I'm going to come back to the fun, because part of nostalgia for me, because I'm more of a depressed person, is looking back on fun. And
I agree, Pixel.
The music in the 90s, although maybe I'll give it to you that it was better and it had a wider range. The fact is, a lot of it was darker and a lot of it was depressing. In the 80s, you don't think dark, depressing when you think of 80s music,
unless you were into The Cure.
Yeah.
I would like to say that no other era wrote ballads like the 80s did, and there was a lot of ballads way before the 80s. Like the 60s made a lot of like nice love songs that really slowed in tempo compared to what was coming before them. But the 80s, man, that's bleeding heart ballads. That's the good shit.
That's the hairband ballads.
Yeah.
That's why I'm willing to give 80s music.
I'm good at that.
That's hilarious.
You know what, the 80s, I can't. So a couple of my favorite bands, kind of really solidified themselves.
Liked, actually.
In that, I want to say Iron Maiden was 81 or 80 if I remember right. So they're one of my favorites. Megadeth comes out of the 80s, so it wasn't totally devoid of dark music.
Metallica comes out of the 80s.
Yeah, Metallica does. But
I would actually share that with the 90s though. That's like one I would actually share.
I think Metallica, now for most people, they say the Black Album was the end of it for them, but I give Metallica up until about 98 when they started to really fall off.
The Black Album, to me, like the Black Album is what made me go back and buy their other albums, to be honest. It
was their most mainstream for sure.
And then I went back and I bought all the rest of them.
That was when they transitioned from a thrash metal band to a really a more mainstream metal band, and they had a sound that more people could enjoy. But I'm more I'm definitely more on the 80s side of things for the most part, although some of the tunes from the 90s are some of my favorite Metallica songs. Like the Unforgiven 2, I really enjoy. I know that's sacrilege to some folks, especially metalheads, but I really like that song.
Brittany liked even like later Metallica, like past 2000.
Cyanide, I really liked that album.
Saint Anger was the worst thrash. Well, I don't even know I call it thrash. Saint Anger was one of the worst albums I've ever heard in my life. And while people kind of, because I'm a Megadeth fan, I prefer Megadeth over Metallica. They'll be like, well, they had Risk. And I'm like, my argument has always been that Risk was a great album that didn't sound like Megadeth. They did something new, but it was still a really solid hard rock, heavy metal album. Saint Anger was a crap album, no matter who put it out. Like
when he started to try to sing, because I can hear that song in my head right now, and it's fucking like it's like a rocking chair that's just rocking over cattails. The dude can't sing. He can rock. He can heavy metal sing. Oh, the lead singer from Metallica. I don't know.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Yeah, Pixel. Saint Anger's drums were garbage. They were absolute crap.
When he kept trying to just sing, that's when Metallica. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck they're doing. They're just old now. It's horrible, horrible.
Right. So my argument always was that people didn't like Megadeth's worst album because it didn't sound like Megadeth, but it was still a really good album. Whereas Saint Anger was one of the worst things I've ever heard. It was just, I hated that album, and everything they've done since has sounded to me like Metallica it sounded like a band trying to mimic Metallica. It didn't really sound organic to me. I don't know. I can't quantify that. That's very subjective.
See, that's how I feel about Korn.
Really?
All of Korn's later stuff, anything after Issues, which was to me probably their best album, but the one that I really can't listen to because it's so fucking depressing. Anything after that. So, okay, let's say the two albums after Issues each had, I think, 2 songs each. And then the rest of the album, I didn't like at all. And then after those 2 albums, there was nothing for me. I didn't like anything they've done.
Untouchables is very atmospheric, and I do think that John Davis with that album got very experimental. It was actually at the time, it was the most expensive album I think ever produced when Untouchables came out. So it was very atmospheric and it got very heady, but like
love you too, buddy.
It was still really amazing. And then take a look in the mirror. I like that it kind of got a little heavier and a little edgier after the more atmosphere. I don't agree, Pixel, with that at all. I think 2016's
Pixel, I do agree.
I can't get there. 2016.
Matt is an Uber fan. Matt, I know you're an Uber fan, and you may hear things. You're more musically inclined. You may hear things that I don't hear in their stuff, but I agree with Pixel. Yeah, no.
2016. Why am I forgetting the name of the album? I've listened to it like 3 billion times. Regardless, the one that came out in 2016 that I for some reason can't get a grasp on in my mind right now. It wasn't the Paradigm Shift. It was the one after that. But regardless, that one was one of their best albums ever. I feel like that. And I mean, yeah, that was 8 years ago now, but it's still definitely late in their catalog. Really recently, they dropped a couple of albums, and they're not like their last one wasn't like peak them, but like Hopeless and Beaten was a great. Brian's back though. He's been back for over 10 years. He's been back since 2013-ish, somewhere in there, 2014, and that. So, with Head being back in the band, that definitely helped. They did have a couple off years in the 2000s with, I don't know. I still really liked the stuff, but again, their sound has changed and evolved. But to me, it's always been them. Yeah, Pixel. The only one there's 2 people. David Silvera is not with the band and hasn't been for quite some time. They have a new permanent drummer, and then Fieldy is taken. They haven't fired him officially, but he's been having some drug problems over the past few years, so he's on hiatus. But yeah, Head and Monkey are back together, and I still think they're producing great. I will fight to the death over Corn. They're still producing some. Go listen to the song "Hopeless and Beaten," and it's just heavy and crunchy and angry. Love it. Anyway. Yes, let's move on.
Britt, what's next after music?
Toys.
That's what. Okay, I was gonna ask about toys.
There you go.
Okay, so I win. I'm sorry. I fucking win. What is it, 80s? Just because it's older doesn't make it.
I'm so fucking proud of your water hose outside.
We loved our water hoses. We loved our water hoses.
I know.
We had, dude, we had so much. We had Transformers and G.I. Joe. There was almost nothing. And I know Power Rangers was 90s, right, Matt? That's when
Ninja Turtles.
Here,
I mean,
He-Man. We had He-Man. Turtles was, oh my God.
Yeah,
so
Turtles.
Much. There's no, and honestly, even though it started in like the late 70s, I think Star Wars should be 80s as well.
Can you see this?
Good
yeah, I can see it. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know that I'd give you Star Wars because that only the last one was what, 80, right? Return of the Jedi was 80, but all right. So Pixel's saying Nintendo and Game Boy, which I will give you. But in the 90s, we had Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64. We had PlayStation.
Yeah, but we're not talking electronics. We're talking toys.
Well, all right.
I'm going to separate that.
No.
Okay. I do see a Game Boy on there. That's why I'm like.
No.
You guys had an Atari. You had Atari.
Yeah, but that's all we had. We didn't even have the technology to keep up with electronics yet.
That's right.
Okay, so we had arcades. So okay, I'll win again. We had arcades.
Yeah, but there were still arcades up until the late 90s too.
Yeah.
We had arcades as well with more advanced games. You guys had like, and don't get me wrong, I'm a hardcore gamer. I'll play some Galaga all day, but I mean, you're comparing that with Mortal Kombat 2 in the arcade, and there's no contest.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, see, the thing is,
so that's a little unfair. I could get with that.
But for electronics, that's like comparing electronics in 1950. Then, like we didn't have the tech yet, but we did have toys. So I gotta separate electronics and toys. Two different things to me.
So
and you can.
I don't know. I think
it falls on the floor. It ain't gonna happen. I'm not putting in electronics with toys.
I think the better Turtles figures probably came out post 90.
They did.
And that because they became much, much bigger after that. We had all the Turtles movies, so that was nice. I think so I tend to lump personally. I do tend to lump the first Turtles cartoon in with the 90s more because
I'll give you the Turtles cartoon. I'll give that to you. It's a great.
I think that one I tend to associate it more with by Pixel with the 90s, but
I mean, I'll give it because the 90s needs all the help it can get, but
I don't think it really does. Dude, we had Batman the Animated Series, which was one of the best cartoons ever. I mean, you're talking DuckTales, Rescue Rangers, Gargoyles. We had hang on, I'm not done because I just got to remember. We had all the Nicktoons like Doug, Ren and Stimpy. I freaking hate them with a passion, but
Steve
Rugrats has a massive following.
Yeah, Nicktoons I never got into. I didn't even count.
Rocco's Modern Life. Rocco's Modern Life I can enjoy as an adult, and it's still amazing. I mean, all of I'm forgetting some because I know I mean, Power Rangers was huge, and all of its knockoffs was
so. I mean, but that's
massive.
the thing. So we had, and I'll throw my sisters in there too. Care Bears, Rainbow Bright, Snorkels, Smurfs. We had the real Ghostbusters. We had again He-Man, She-Ra. all the main ones, Thundercats, Silverhawks. We had a shit ton too.
Yeah, we have X-Men. We have X-Men on Saturday mornings.
The
Sonic,
X-Men,
two different
2.
Sonic the Hedgehog series, several Super Marios. We had oh my goodness,
we had Super Friends. Super Friends was great.
You guys did have Super Friends. I mean, what I'm drawing a blank. We had the Tales from the Crypt cartoon, the Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. Are You Afraid of the Dark? Goosebumps.
Yep. Are You Afraid? The Goosebumps books, which are totally classic. I mean, the 90s really. Oh, the Spider-Man cartoon too.
The Spider-Man, the X-Men and Spider-Man one. You can't top those with anything. Those are.
In the original Batman animated series, those three are huge, massive successes in the 90s.
Scooby-Doo as well. We had Scooby-Doo.
Darkwing Duck. Darkwing Duck was huge.
Yeah.
Duck. I think I mentioned DuckTales. We had the Adventures of the Gummy Bears, which was we had the Gummy Bears show. It was great.
Hey, we had the Adventures of Ewoks. Come on.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They that trumps in the 90s
that's like another
too.
Phil Collins card. That trumps everything. The Adventures of the Ewoks. So how about comics? How about comics?
We had, you guys had Elf, but we had dinosaurs.
Yeah, I know. Elf.
I mean, Baby Sinclair was a phenomenon on his own, and he wasn't even the best part of the show. That show was hilarious. I will watch that show.
Wasn't that on for like one season? Or was that for a while?
4 seasons. Same as Elf, really? Actually. Yeah, Dinosaurs and Elf had the same number of seasons.
I had no idea. Wow.
Yep. It was actually sadly, I mean, that show was amazing. We had and someone might have to check me on this. I think we have Family Matters with Urkel.
It may have started. I mean, even if it started in like '89, I would still give it to you. You know what I mean? That ran mostly through the '90s.
Mostly,
and the whole TGIF thing, that's mostly 90s. I would and guess what? You could have that. I fucking hated every show on that fucking thing.
Really? You hated Family Matters?
Dude,
that hurts my heart.
I was
my souls.
Roseanne and shit. I never liked the goody.
Roseanne was like the worst one.
I love.
No,
Roseanne.
I take that back. Ellen or something was probably the worst one. But
Ellen was horrible. Oh my god, that was a bad show.
I want to say Seinfeld, but I know you guys are fans. So no, you know what? I'm not a Frasier fan. Anything associated with Cheers, I found incredibly boring.
I love Cheers. I love Cheers. So
I couldn't get into Cheers. But I'd watch me some Full House, Family Matters. Oh, okay. Sorry, Brittany. I just saw your comment. Wait, what comic books?
Ron said, what about comic books?
I said, just what about comic books?
Down for a minute.
Ooh, that's
because
tough.
This is going to be my take. Because I'm not going to give either decade like the whole thing. My favorite books were in the 90s. It doesn't mean they were the best books. My favorite books were in the 90s. In the 80s, even though I wasn't collecting in the 80s, I can guarantee they probably had way better stories, way better everything in the 80s. And not just because I'm an 80s guy. And the 90s comics went super commercial and then took a steep nosedive right into the pavement. So the 90s was like the beginning of the end for the comic industry. You know what I mean?
It really was. The late 90s especially.
And then that fucking drop off was massive. So 90s has my favorite books, but I can guarantee, even though I don't know for a fact, the 80s were probably better.
Yeah.
We have John from John's Long Box on here.
Oh my goodness, dude!
He would be able to rattle off all the reasons why the '80s comics were. He would know all the editors and shit. You know what I mean?
Well, I think you're right, and because I think I agree with you. Like some of my favorite stories are from the '90s.
Yeah.
But I do think a lot of the '80s were probably one. I gotta say, I'm still of the opinion the greatest series I've ever read was the Watchmen. I can't stand Alan Moore, but
I can't either. And I love the Watchmen.
I think some people, and granted, he's wrote a lot of great stuff, but I think sometimes you just hit this miraculous stroke of creativity, and I think he did that with Watchmen, and I love that story so much, and I love the art.
I know that a lot of people that don't like him throw around the term deconstructionist, like kind of a depressing deconstructionist, and I get it, but if that was his thing, he was good at his thing. You know what I mean? Now, and again, that's just, I don't really like the dude. I think I've seen him, especially in more recent years, kind of turn into even more of like a Stephen King, where, they're kind of saying some really stupid shit that maybe they wouldn't have 15 years ago. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because they want the contracts. He still wants to sell his movies, but he doesn't want to say he likes his movies. I'm talking about Alan Moore.
Right. No, I agree.
He'll take the check. He'll take the paycheck. And then he'll say, oh, I didn't like it. Dude, Watchmen was a fucking shot-for-shot remake of your comic.
I absolutely, positively. I remember there was a comic shop in Buffalo that I used to frequent at the time. And
was it Buffalo Nickel Comics?
No, it was called Don's Atomic Comics. It was on Transit Road, and I liked the owner very much. I really did. But there was this sort of like moment where at the time. Now this is probably going back to early 2000s when I'm going in there, and I'm still learning. Like, I had read comics as a kid, but now I'm like learning them as an adult and really getting to know artists and storylines and who did what and all that. And I just remember when the Watchmen movie did eventually come out, I remember being totally stoked about it. And I just remember him totally crapping on me for it. Like, I'm sure, that I'm probably, I don't know. Like, I couldn't believe, I'm like, and that was the complaint, that it was too close to the comic. And I'm like, isn't that what we want? Like,
see, that's a fucking comic book people. I swear to God, this is why I don't get along with anyone. Because even my own people irritate the shit out of me. Like, you constantly fucking bitch when it's not the same as what you expect. And then when it's different than what you expect, you fucking bitch. And then you love the first movie, so then you're clamoring for a second movie. I've never met anyone besides myself that has liked a sequel, even though you're all just jonesing for a sequel. What is wrong with you people? Like, I don't like.
Yeah,
it drives me. Right. It drives me fucking nuts. Like,
and that's the thing. Like, for me, there's certain things where I'm like, please don't, for the love of God, make a sequel to this, because you're going to screw it up.
Joker, do not make a sequel, and they are. And they're going to suck, but those movies need to be left the fuck alone.
Right, and I'm kind of with you on that, actually, because you know that they're going to bring the Joker into the Batman, not Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. I'm talking about.
I know.
They're going to bring the character into the Batman, and the character that they introduced in the Batman, I'm sorry, was the worst freaking part of that movie. So I hope they stay miles away from bringing him in, but. The other thing is too, you're right. There's no pleasing everyone. I'm sitting here going, I think there's a sequel to Beetlejuice coming out. I'm like, please don't do this. Like, I've heard of rumors of a sequel to Nightmare Before Christmas, which is another thing that the 90s has, which I gotta say is amazing. And it's like, please don't.
Gorgeous.
And I'm even going to go with the 80s just to stay on theme here. They've talked about a Labyrinth sequel, and I'm like, no, you cannot produce a sequel to the Labyrinth. Yes, okay. I'm dead serious. Like, stay away.
They just talk shit. They just talk shit just to, because there's not enough happening. It's just like CNN or something. There's not really enough happening in real life, so they just kind of say stuff and just to put it in like Hollywood Magazine or whatever. There's no fucking plans to do any of that. but they're gonna piss people off, and they'll get people looking at it if they say it. So
No, I don't know. I don't trust them nowadays. I think if they
Now, I will tell you that what I would go see. I would go see him as Batman and like in a spoof movie. I'd go see it twice. That'd be great.
Oh my goodness, yes. That would be great. Have you ever seen speaking of spoofs, have you ever seen superhero movie?
No, I did not.
I've heard of it.
Watch that sometime.
But I haven't watched it.
No, I never
saw it. I have it. We got to watch it sometime. It's good.
Okay.
It's
really good?
like I enjoyed it very much. It is basically essentially a spoof of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man film, with
I know
a lot of other references thrown in, but it follows that basic plot line, and I find it to be hilarious. I really do. I think it's great. So we'll have to watch that sometime. That'd be a fun night. But yeah, comics. I'm going to say I think the 80s probably had better overall stories. I really love some of the concepts and that from the 90s. I am a fan of the...
I do too. Man. I do too. The 90s just had a lot of flash, which I liked because I was an artist. So I really didn't care about the stories that much. As an adult, absolutely. I care about the stories a lot more. If they want to do remakes, they need to remake the
Yes, Pops, you're absolutely right.
Point.
Yep.
You're absolutely right. Leave the good ones alone.
Clooney's Batman.
Yeah.
Let's do the Snyder cut of Clooney.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know that could even save it. That movie was just bad.
Christmas in the 90s was better than the 90s. Are you sure?
Shit.
Are you sure? So, education in the 90s.
I took my glasses off because I get a glare. I did do a slide about education. I take my glasses off because of the glare. So thanks for that. It's just a typo. I'm allowed to make a typo, and I am allowed to say that the 90s Christmases were better than the 80s because I had a garbage.
I was there for both.
You need to let me speak, young man. You need to let me.
What?
You need to let me make my point. Yeah. What?
Oh, sorry. Okay. Go ahead.
I had a shit garbage childhood, and I know that my Christmases were so great with, most family excluded, but some of the memories were so great that they trump your crappy, dusty, sepia-toned 80s.
Sepia-toned.
This is a treat for you. Okay, this is me very happy in 95. So I'm the same age as
before the real trauma kicked in.
Same age as Clark in that picture, but
Aww.
Look at all this stuff. That's a gift for you guys. And look, he's got a Rancor over here in the 80s. But the Christmas cartoons and the Christmas specials, and they were even introducing like CGI in the Christmas commercials, and they actually cared about what kids wanted to see and what kids wanted to get.
The 80s was all about that.
The 80s was all about your boomer
where do you
parents.
think the 90s got it from? The 90s got it from the 80s.
Actually, yeah, I hate to do that because I am firmly on Brit's side. I think the 90s did everything the 80s did and did it better, and then did new stuff on top of that.
Behave yourself.
I do. I think that we for the most part, it was. I won't say always better because there are the action movies. Like when I think of good action movies, I'm like all about the Rocky movies during the 80s, even though the first one was 70s. I'm all about
First Blood,
Kickboxer, Bloodsport, Rambo. Predator.
Those were 90s. Like Kickboxer and stuff were 90s, weren't they?
No, Kickboxer was 80s. So was Bloodsport.
Really? So I just saw them in the 90s then. Holy shit. I didn't even know those were real 80s. I thought those were like early 90s.
No, I'll get some dates on them, but
wow, that's amazing to me. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, with the other, but I don't know. I think for the most part, 89 was Kickboxer, Bloodsport was earlier than that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And 88 was Bloodsport. So those two were definitely
and then there's
80s.
then there's Cyborg. Cyborg was good too, even though it was shitty quality, but I remember watching it and enjoying it back then.
Yeah. But I think of like Predator, being in the 80s. Those were all phenomenal. But I don't know. Like I think
Evil Knievel Stunt Cycle is the best.
When it comes to Christmas specials, all the really good stuff started way before the 90s. Like Rudolph, Garfield. My favorite of all time is the Garfield Christmas special. I don't care what it. It's my absolute favorite. As an adult, I will legit cry during that. I don't care. It's when Grandma's petting Garfield and talking about her husband and that, like I tear up. I don't care. I'm cheesy.
Nice.
So that Doc Blalock, the 80s ruled. I think the 80s didn't rule.
Doc, the sepia tone. I don't give a fuck. The 80s were the best.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, with all your wood paneling and stuff like that,
we inherited that from the 70s.
But you guys, you held on to a lot of garbage that you inherited from the 70s.
The 80s had like mauve and gray, like that. That's like my whole house. My whole house originally was like all mauve and gray. That was very 80s. 80s was very sleek and silver. The wood panels, that's a layover.
Raging Rudolph is better than Rudolph. I don't know.
Raging Rudolph? What?
80s held on to the Jell-O cookbook. Oh my goodness, it did.
Have you seen that? Oh my goodness. Because I bet your mom and grandma used it in your childhood.
My grandma was old school Italian. I don't think she ever used that. The 90s tried to bring back bell bottoms and didn't want to hear about it pending. See, Doc was there for all of it. Doc is like me. He was there for both.
Doc, I have flares and they're insane and they look damn good. Yeah, so that's why we held on to those.
No, bell bottoms that was never. Listen, I will say the 80s clothes were not attractive. They were fun, which is why I like it, but not attractive. Bell bottoms were not ever attractive. Okay, just like the new. Not new, but what was it? Maybe like 6-7 years ago, when the style for women's pants was back up past the belly button again. I'm like, holy shit, that is ugly as sin. I don't know why they would do that. There are some fads that don't work ever, and they just keep bringing them back.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe I'm in the minority here, but that I've never understood that. It always looks weird to me.
It's very strange looking.
Yeah, like I don't get that. And I'm not like you gotta have your super low waist.
No, I'm not. Yeah, I mean I'm 47 with a wife and 3 kids. I'm not one to say you gotta be half naked anymore, but there's like a ratio that your clothes should hit, like mathematically. And when the pants go above your belly button for style, it's fucking weird.
Right. I feel like the male equivalent would be me having my belt going around my nipples. Like that would be like the dude equivalent to that. Like,
it's like the Family Guy joke, out of shape, in shape guy.
Yeah. I'm not feeling it. But I don't know. I guess the real moral here is I think both were really awesome. I really enjoyed growing up in the 90s. I really miss a lot of the music. I really do think a lot of that was just it was a cool decade that I don't really think gets as much appreciation as it deserves. The 90s brought in sagging. Yeah, well,
I'll blame the 80s for overshadowing the 90s. I'll take that, but that's actually a point for me. So. But you're right. I mean, listen, the 90s had a lot of good shit. I mean, it's not that it was, all or nothing.
It's definitely not. It's been better than the last 15 years. That's for sure.
What the fuck is showing?
I would take those.
Showing skin. I see. That's not a plus, though. That's not a plus.
Well, okay. I need to elaborate that on a little bit. I need to elaborate on that a little bit because in the 80s, like Hollywood and on TV and stuff, they were showing a lot of skin, and they brought out the whole off the shoulder thing. So the 90s did that thing that Matt was talking about. We took it and we made it better with the baggy clothes off the shoulder, that relaxed girl fit. That all started in the 90s.
I would.
Dude, Cyndi Lauper was doing that in fucking 84.
Yeah, but Cyndi Lauper, like, no one looks at Cyndi Lauper and goes, "Dang, she's attractive." Like,
no, they do not. And I will say,
I'm sorry.
No, you're right.
I always thought, and I know this is gonna piss some people off. Sorry, I'm actually going to make some people really angry. I always thought Madonna looked disgusting, like, forever. Like, I've never once saw Madonna and gone, "Wow, she's attractive." Like, and like, not in the 80s, not in the 90s, definitely not now.
I will say for Madonna, where I thought she was attractive, and I was, fucking 13. It was like the Dick Tracy. It was the Dick Tracy area around 90, like 89, 90, 91, where she had like more. She had more of a movie star quality. She was a whore, of course, but she tried to be a Hollywood style whore, and then after that was done, she just went full European style whore and started speaking with an English accent because that's normal. But I will say my favorite look is
Britney. The Britney.
The Britney look is my favorite look. Off the shoulder. Britney used to come out of her room and wear her red top sweatshirt off the shoulder when we were just friends, and I had to sit there and fucking deal with it. Where'd she go? Yeah, we were just friends, and I'm like, "Oh, you motherfucker!" Oh, what a great look! I do like that look.
Britney Spears danced to way more than one song. I don't know what point that is, but for the love of it,
we're fighting about Tawny Katane because for some reason he thinks that crack rock is a win.
Crack rock? What?
Crack rock. Well, 80s hair metal is what she's referring to. It's crack rock.
No, 80s hair metal, is that called crack rock? Like, I don't even know.
I don't know. They were all on crack.
Graduated to knife dancing pops. Yeah. No, Doc was trying to defend that the 80s hairband women were way more smoking hot than the 90s dancing women, and I disagree. But on the other hand, I just want to say, like, I'm huge into sparkles and glitter and beta sex kitten programming, which is real. So I'm all into all of that. So that's why I like the sleeker hair, the more sparkly stuff.
Yeah, I'm not.
You know what? I will say this. And this goes for both. This goes for both points. I can only think of two girls that match what Britney's talking about, which would be Christina and Britney, and they did it the best by far. But as for the 80s part of the heavy metal rocker chick, the volume was way more. Like, you could see sexy heavy metal rocker chicks way more in the 80s. And in the 90s, I can only think of those two that did it really well. You know what I mean?
Are those heavy metal rocker chicks? Like, I'm trying to, like, think here, but I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to get a bearing on what we're actually talking about here, because I might be able to make a point. Like, if we're just talking like ladies in music.
Oh, so are we talking about? Okay, so actually, you're right. We're actually at an hour now, but we are. Are we talking about the women in the videos? Or are we talking about the quote unquote talent, like Britney Spears or a heavy metal singer? Like, who are we talking about?
Doc, I'll give you Doro Pesh and Lita Ford there. I like them both a lot.
So we're talking about the actual talent, quote unquote.
I get like I'm not even sure because and then like Christina and Britney and Madonna and all them are really far from the metal genre. I'd have to think for a second.
No, we weren't comparing. It didn't have to be metal. It was just what was popular, like women-wise.
I mean, go look at Mariah Carey in 1993's video for Fantasy, and I mean, she beats anything in the 80s. It's not even close.
I never liked her. I never liked Mariah Carey.
I don't know. I think that her in the early 90s
I
was.
get it. People loved her. I never did.
There we go.
What's that, Brittany?
Oh, I thought Pops was trying to come on. I'm sorry.
He is.
Oh,
he's coming.
There he is.
He's coming. Do you guys mind if I send Dr. Link? We will go ahead and extend this if you guys want to keep going. And I have something here. I got Doc's book here to unbox.
Let's extend
keep
it.
Going, and let me send Dr. Link. We'll bring him out. Yeah. We'll keep this debate going. But at the end of the show, let's open up his.
I'll go. I would go for like 20 more minutes, only because we got 3 kids waiting downstairs for us.
Ah!
Yeah.
You don't know the duct tape trick? What's wrong with you?
Yeah, I know.
They know how to use knives. They're homeschool. Yeah, they know how to.
No, you trick them into taping each other up, guys. Oh shit! Wrong person. Sorry, Ron. I meant to send that to Doc.
Well, in the 90s, we were using knives at like 5 years old.
What's that?
I said in the 90s, we're in the 80s too. I'm sure we were using knives way younger than they do nowadays.
Oh, there's a guy that me and Brittany both watch, Ollie Matthews, and he talks about how the boomer parents never gave a shit. So the 80s kids were like feral, and that's why we were out till all hours of the night. There he
Lies.
is.
Lies.
There he is.
No way.
Who put up that slide full of lies?
The slide.
Let me debunk this. First of all, you misspelled 80s when you put the 90s were better than the 80s. 89, Keaton, Batman, period, full stop. 80s, are you shitting me? Actually, 70s beat us both on toys.
Yeah, the Evel Knievel Stud Cycle was the best toy ever made, period.
I have one comment. The 70s did have the Shogun Godzilla figure with the fist that fired. And
great
G.I. Joe, 70s had it all.
One of my favorite toys of all time.
Yeah. Now, let's just get real clear here, okay? Tracksuits are not a fashion statement, okay?
I agree.
The 90s did that to us.
We
Skin
got
tight,
that
spray painted on jeans from the 80s absolutely ruled. And there are no female musical acts that can touch Doral Pesh or Lita Ford for hotness and talent combined.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, nothing says do me like a quick head flip to the side.
Doral Pesh.
Okay.
Doro's legit. I'm gonna say Doro is Lita Ford, but I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that because there are some really good acts from the 90s that I would put at least in certain kind of points in time would rival them a little bit.
I'm going to say the 70s kicked all that ass. You got Stevie, you got the Hart Sisters. No, the 70s had the hottest.
I can't stand Stevie.
The 70s aren't in the running here, though, Pops.
Rusty screwdriver in my ear.
Women on stage, the 70s got.
Wait, what? Did somebody just say they would rather put a screwdriver through their ear than listen to Stevie Nicks?
I do it twice.
I would. I can't stand Stevie Nicks. I'm sorry.
I will pray for you. I will do an exorcism on your behalf.
She is. Oh God, she's atrocious.
Okay.
She's offensive to every sense.
You boys are wrong. Sit there in your wrongness and think about how wrong you are.
Yeah, I got to agree with Doc on this one.
Man, if liking Stevie,
I was doing a pool repair on the crown of a pool, the tile on the top of the pool. I was doing a crown repair at a house on Camelback Mountain in Scottsdale. And lo and behold, the lady that walked out of that house and sat down on that lounge chair next to that pool was none other than Stevie Nicks, and she is the coolest person.
Shut up! Are you serious?
Yeah, coolest person you'll ever meet.
That's a cool story. I still think South Park got it right with they had her on the show and she was a goat.
Usually when you say she's got a good
Yes,
she's got a good personality, it's not a good thing.
No, I didn't say she had a nice personality.
Stevie
She was a nice person.
Stevie Nicks did not.
She
get
did not come out of the house and treat us
based
like
on
people
her
who were
looks.
working.
She got
Right,
it on her
she summoned
songwriting
it.
and her singing.
Hold up. She did not come out of the house and treat us like people who were working at her house.
Right.
She came out of her house and treated us like people.
All right, but that's the 70s, and that's not in the running. Here's what we know, okay? All the best movies, all means all, and that's all that all means, happened in the 80s. Period. Period. The 90s has nothing that comes even close.
Okay.
I don't know
Back
if
to
I'd
the
say not
Future,
close.
Indiana Jones, just by themselves, those two. The Crown. Here you go. Oh.
Back to the Future, Indiana Jones. Yeah.
That's really big. Yeah.
Return
I'll
of the
give-
Jedi, isn't that an 80s movie as well?
That was the only
Return of the
one that I
Jedi
didn't
was,
really
yeah,
know.
but that one has
That was the only
Ewoks,
one.
so
Yeah, we Ewoks were the precursors to the rest of the shitstorm that happened later. So we're not.
Yeah.
talking
Well,
about-
I'm not even going to go there. I
Yeah.
really like Return of the Jedi. You can have
I
Return
do
of the
too.
Jedi.
I
It's a
did-
great movie.
Empire
didn't
Strikes
mind-
Back
I-
was 80s.
I didn't mind the Ewoks. I was young. I didn't care.
Empire
I didn't know the
Strikes
difference.
Back
I don't
was
mind
80s,
the Ewoks.
right? Empire Strikes Back, the one everybody likes the most, was 80.
No, that one was 79.
Was that 80s?
80.
79.
1980.
80.
1980 was the release date. July
Really?
1980. Look it up.
So we're gonna have two of it. Okay, so now Star Wars is 80s then, because there's two out of the three is 80s.
Two of the original three were 80s, yes.
Oh,
So we get
Plus
Star Wars
Indiana
80s.
Jones, plus Back to the Future. We've got it. So hand the movie crown
Breakfast
over to
Club.
the 80s. 90, all the John Hughes films, Weird Science, Breakfast Club, Pretty in Pink. You know, we own the 80s. There's nothing.
well, for Hughes, we at least got Home Alone. I mean, that's something. You guys got the Great Outdoors too. That
John
was so
Carpenter's
good.
Vampires, wasn't that in the 80s as well?
Yeah.
John Carpenter's Vampires
You-
may have been early 90s.
Now, I'll say this.
That was late
The
80s.
90s, women's hairstyles got better.
I
Because
said
I
the
agree.
same thing to
that
Britt. I
bulletproof
agree.
bouffant
I agree.
Marvel stage thing we had in the 80s, no.
I agree.
That was,
All right.
that was
Women
wrong.
girls- yeah.
Like
Women's
Aquanet,
style
man.
Women's style got
So-
sexier. It got way better in the 90s.
Hair got better, not style.
Hey, All the girls smelled like Aquanet when I
In
was
the 80s, let me tell you something. In the
Can I
80s,
have a female opinion on the topic of females?
Yeah.
Can I
Yeah.
just go ahead? Okay. So yeah, the hair, that's a true point. But also these music videos and this talent that you're talking about. So those are just the acts are just posing and then they're singing for the camera and then
play
they're
the
posing.
Dora Pesh video that I
90s?
dropped the link for.
In the 90s, they're doing both all at the same time. They're singing
Wrong.
and dancing.
They're
You
not
are-
singing in the
you are
90s.
wrong.
And it all got way more sexualized. So if sexy was what is winning the point, then 90s obviously gets that because female artists on screen were far more sexualized. And also we're getting
Sexualized, but not sexy. Sorry.
There might
I
be- there might be
I
a
don't think
difference.
as a dude, I don't know. I think women in the 90s were like, if you're talking like mainstream stars, like when I think of the 80s, I think of like Cyndi Lauper and Annie Lennox and all these other women that I don't find Madonna. I don't find any of them attractive in the least. I think
Cindy
the 90s,
Cruz, Tawny Katane. You know, how many from the 80s do I need to bring
I'm
up
not
here?
even talking about the women playing the music. I'm talking about the videos. All the hotties in the
Me too.
80s metal videos were hotter than any of the chicks
right.
in the 90s videos.
Yeah.
I mean, they were hotter because they had so much product in their hair. They were flammable. That's what made them hotter. Like they were literally lightning. They were spontaneously
I've conceded the hair, Matt. I've conceded the hair.
They dressed sexy.
However, listen to
They were
me.
dressing
In the
sexy.
80s,
They
the
looked-
way a woman put on her jeans was to Vaseline up her thighs, get a running start, and jump into them, and get a pair of pliers and pull them together. In other words,
my stomach so I can bulk a button.
They were spray painted on jeans and they were hot. All right. But not this thing in the 90s where the girls pulled their pants up to under their boobs and had big flat asses. No.
I don't think that was a 90s thing, though.
That was a 90s thing.
No, that wasn't all of us. That was just lesbians.
I'm not talking about like lesbians at Home Depot. I'm like,
hold up,
I would definitely.
Brittany, I need that one clipped. I need that one clipped.
Okay.
Okay. Real quick. 90s movies.
We'll edit it out.
90s movies. I brought up some earlier, but I'm gonna have to go with some that could compete. Would be like the Ace Ventura. I've mentioned Adam Sandler earlier. You also have The Crow. It's the 90s movies.
Here's what the 90s can have. They've got Independence Day, great flick. They've got The Matrix by Whisker. That came in 1999.
Man, I wouldn't even go to those.
That's the best the 90s got to offer. You brought up Adam Sandler. No. Are you shitting me?
Dude, Adam Sandler was brilliant in the 90s.
Adam Sandler was Adam Sandler in every movie he was ever Adam Sandler in.
That is a lie. Go watch Spanglish and what's it? Gemstones or Uncut Stone.
Rain Over Me.
What, Brent?
Rain Over Me.
Rain Over Me. I'm going to give you this. Rain Over Me should have got him an Oscar.
Hell yeah, it should have.
That was a great freaking psychological movie.
Adam Sandler's amazing. He
No,
plays a lot of different stuff. It's just
I think the best shit he did was the songs he did on Saturday Night Live. He used to crack my ass up with his songs, dude.
He had 4 albums out back then, like 4 CDs. Like I used to have him. He was hilarious.
Look, whatever plus you think Adam Sandler gives the 90s, Will Ferrell takes away.
Ew.
Will Ferrell's the shit.
Will Ferrell.
I love Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell is the black hole of talent from the 90s. He sucks all the rest of it down.
Okay, all right. Now I understand you. Yeah, all right. I'll give you that because I can't disagree. I hate Will Ferrell. I can't stand him.
He's up.
I love Will Ferrell.
Him and Ben Stiller. Ben Stiller was awful.
Yeah, Ben
too.
Stiller can pick one and suck it. I don't like him.
Yeah, I can't stand either one of those.
Yeah, those are good movies, Brett. There's lots of individual good movies.
Them out, Brittany. I'm saying I want them clips for shorts. Okay.
We can all hand the crown to the 80s easily.
That's better.
TV shows.
I'm going to try and
for the win, but every time I make a point, that's just a random wild card thing.
I haven't heard you make a point yet, Britt.
I just made 3. I just made 3.
Those are a little bit. Look, do you know what Silence of the Lambs, what year that it won the Oscar? Do you know what it was up against?
I don't know.
The Fellowship of the fucking Rings, and it somehow won. Are you shitting me with that right now?
Silence of the Lambs. No.
They're like a decade apart.
Hold on, let me look it up because I'm pretty sure I'm right.
Mm-mm.
The Fellowship of the Ring was like 2001.
Yeah. But you are pretty sure you're right. He might be right. I actually have no idea.
Silence of the Lambs is way before Lord of the Rings.
Hannibal may have been around the same time.
I was going to say Hannibal or Red Dragon, maybe. Red Dragon might have been around that time.
And I don't think that was Oscar worthy.
Which one?
Red Dragon or Hannibal. I mean, I love them, but they're not.
I don't think they're Oscar worthy. No. Well, they didn't.
I love
both. No.
Oh, Misery came out in the 90s. Misery is fantastic.
That's the thing.
Okay, so
yeah, whatever.
Hello.
Let me say this. Okay. I think the 90s had some great random horror movies. But the 80s had better like collections, like Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
So I think they both had their thing. The 90s had more singular ones, and the 80s had some good franchise ones.
Yeah, the 80s definitely. That's the hard part I'm trying to think of. Like when it comes to the 90s, is what like series or trilogies that they had. And you're right. You guys had Back to the Future and Indiana Jones, but when Indiana Jones was actually good.
It was A Beautiful Mind that I was thinking of. Excuse me.
Oh.
Gotcha.
That is a far cry from Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah. I'm old. There's a lot of data up here.
He's
There's a lot of
arguing
data.
like me now.
There's a lot of data up here. Sometimes the
You get the
retrieval.
point. She gets the point on it.
No, she doesn't.
Hey.
You're so wrong.
There's
Still no point there. The Silence of the Lambs versus what? Indiana Jones, Back to the Future, all the John Hughes flicks. Get out of here.
I put
I
all
don't
of
see
those up
either
there.
of them being Oscar worthy either. Back to
Oh.
the Future was a good movie, but nobody
All
ever
of the
won an Oscar.
80s, all of the 80s was just better. Rambo,
You had Ghostbusters, too.
Ghostbusters. I mean,
That
you
was
know.
one that I was going to say, but then at the same time,
I mean, it's as simple as this.
second one fell
let's
off.
pretend it's the 90s and people are going in to Blockbuster to get movies to watch for the whole weekend. Even the shit being released in the 90s didn't sell out, but all the 80s shit was always gone.
Bring them down.
It was always
Yeah,
gone.
I have to say, when it comes to movies, I do think the 80s has to have it. I think the 90s have more singular, like awesome. Well, I don't know about more, but I think they have a wealth.
They
of
have
singular-
some.
Yeah, absolutely. But I do think the 80s has just a lot of great series. Yes, you did give the 80s the movies.
Well, we can take them all, but I had to beat you to death with my hard, rational, objective logic for the TV shows, for the music, for the fashion, for all. The 90s were just, I'm sorry, it was like this beautiful shiny balloon in the 80s, and then when it's deflated and crusty, that's the 90s.
You're wrong, man. We took the balloon and painted it chrome, and then we took all the balloon's clothes off.
Yeah, but it's still laying on the sidewalk deflated. It's not a balloon
Put
anymore.
glitter on the balloon and painted a nipple on it.
Playing
But-
Seinfeld music in the background.
But I think we can all agree on this. The world ended in the year 2000, and we've been
Yes.
living in purgatory ever
Yeah.
since.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm right.
For nostalgia. Yeah.
I'm willing to concede that no matter the 80s or the 90s, anything was better than the past 15 years. This is just
Yeah.
suck.
It's
20 years.
the 21st century
I agree.
needs an enema. That's all I got to say. The 21st
Yeah,
century needs an
sometime.
enema. By the way, in the 80s, here's the checkmate. We had Reagan.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a fan of Reagan. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, but you had
He won the fucking Cold War.
Reagan was being controlled by Father Bush, so it didn't.
Oh
Reagan
no, Ron. Nobody
Dude, Reagan was being
controlled Ronnie Reagan.
No
Sure.
one. He was an actor. Everyone controlled Ronnie Reagan, including the head of the CIA, which was Father Bush. He was running the whole thing. He's probably still running shit now from his grave. Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Hi, Christian.
Hi.
That's my son's name. My son's name is
Nice.
Christian.
My youngest. This is
My
my
youngest
little.
also. Of course, my youngest is your age, so
Say hi to our friends.
So, Pops,
And
do you have Doc's book to unbox?
Yes, I do.
Let's do it. We got I'll go for another 10 minutes.
Do it.
look, rest assured, we'll continue this fight on my show this week, where it will be more accurate.
Would you guys believe that Vampires was 1998?
Vampires. What was that one?
I don't. Unless I'm looking at the wrong one, but I went to
John
look at
Carpenter's? John
Vampires.
Carpenter's?
Oh, wait. It's what it says.
Oh, you're talking about the. I know what you're talking about. It's vampires with a Y. Vampires.
Vampires.
No.
that was,
This is Vampires with the Eye.
Is it John
Yeah,
Carpenter's?
am I not? It's John Carpenter film.
Indignate yourself, Pops.
Unless I'm looking at the wrong one, but
No, John
Maybe I am.
Carpenter's
Maybe it was
Vampires is
I don't
John
know.
Carpenter's Vampire.
Why am I nervous?
That's what I
I've
thought.
seen the book.
You're nervous because you guys know you sent me the wrong one. Now that's cool. We'll show that afterwards. Why would you be nervous, dude? Tell me.
I'm actually not. I needed to fill the air with something. Look at there.
Oh, cool.
Ooh.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Love that.
And it is mature readers only. Do not leave that laying around in front of your kids.
Proofread by. Proofread
Yep.
by.
Yeah, Pops found one spelling error and one typo.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I do proofreading, for all you don't know. Fucking errors jump off the page at me and slap me. Doc knows. It's crazy.
Sure.
When we were doing the Crime Diverse campaign, Doc would put something up on the campaign, and I'd go through and I'd be like, fix this, fix this, fix this, fix this.
Did you get the sign up card also?
The card, this card right here, or
No,
Or-
the original cover that what's his name did.
those cards.
Yeah, you got it. There it is.
Those cards.
Yep.
But I also got something else, guys. I'm gonna have to send Anthony a little something for this. But, oh, Edwin, I hope you're watching. I'm gonna have to tag you in this. Edwin Badillo did this art long time ago. I'm gonna have to back up. See,
Oh, check it out. Did Anthony finally send you that?
dude,
That's
it's
awesome.
my
Oh,
palm
no.
tapestry, yo.
I love it.
That's so pretty. I love it.
Isn't it?
That's
That is
so
amazing.
Very cool. Very cool.
That
It
is
was hanging
sick.
up there behind Anthony for a while, but then he
Very
got
nice.
more. He got more better ones.
Well, he also told me he took it down so it wouldn't get bleached out from UV
Dude.
light.
This is amazing. Thank you, Anthony. Thanks, Doc. You guys know what's up. I'll figure out something for Ant. Somehow I'll get him something. Dude, is this the? Oh, he didn't.
Well, Pops, I just want to say I appreciate you backing Pariah.
Dude,
Yes.
I wasn't just any backer. I was backing number one.
Backer number one. That is a true story.
Backing number one. Look, you're my dude, man. Why wouldn't I? You're my co-host on CromCon. Like I'm just gonna ignore your stuff. Come on.
Brittany, I agree. It's a shitty century, but we are having fun. You know why?
Yeah. That's funny.
Because sane people are kind of pooling together in little islands and trying to weather the storm that is
Yes.
the 21st century.
Yes.
We're letting go of the fear.
Yeah, we don't. I don't live in fear.
Same.
I served under Reagan. I know what to be afraid of and what
I
not. to be.
So, Doc, did I tell you the mistake I screwed up the other day?
Tell me.
Well, I went to the Grand Rapids Con to get, because I had Bob Hall was it. Bob
Uh-huh.
Hall.
Mhm. Oh yeah, you told me. You told me.
Yeah. And I had this stack of books, and I happened to be reading one of them that I meant to take and didn't take.
Right.
First appearance of the Dwarf and Treaty.
Yep.
And he did the pencils on that book, but it was sitting over there on my reader stack, and I forgot to take it.
Now I'm doing my fingers like this because this is a memory trick. This is the 80s winning literature also, because we had Grisham, Patterson, Clancy, and
I would say Stephen King.
well, yeah, King really hit his stride in the 80s. So, I mean, those are the best-selling authors ever. Ever.
I will give you the best selling, not necessarily best, because those genres weren't anything I was really into.
You didn't read Clancy?
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that's what yeah.
I don't care. I'd rather read about dragons and swords and sorcery than Black Ops and shit like that.
Anyway,
It's escapism, Doc. I'm trying to get away from the shit that's actually happening.
The Hunt for Red October, Cardinal of the Kremlin. Come on.
I'm just
my
saying.
My wife, Brittany, has everything Stephen King ever wrote. By the way, look at this. Anthony sent me this. This is Green Mile was serialized in novellas. I did not know that. This is only 100 pages. And this is the size we're going to publish the Damn Dirty Thing novella. And according to the page count in this, I'm already over halfway done. So yay!
Nice, nice.
Yeah, my wife has all Stephen King, everything.
This century hasn't been that bad to me, but this decade, I just want to say this decade, since what I'm doing began at the beginning of this decade, I'm good with this decade. I don't care.
Matt looks like he's just suffering through this. Like, please shut up so I can end this stream.
I've got a raging headache. So I'm muting myself because my son's behind me playing with a dump truck. But I'm with you, Pops. This decade has sucked so far. Like, seriously, like literally everything about it has just been awful.
Actually,
Matt, do you have goodies powder where you live?
I'm saying the opposite.
What I'm saying is because of COVID and all that, it gave me purpose.
Oh, okay.
Decade, because it's giving me something to do.
Well, I will say, other than my son, everything else from this decade I'm good with it.
I feel you, Matt. I kind of agree with you.
Yeah.
Matt, are you in the South by chance?
No, I'm in Western New York. I'm like 2 blocks from Ron in Britain.
Yeah.
Right
if you go on Amazon, you can order Goodies powders. Goodies powders are a micropulverized powder that has 2 aspirin, 2 Tylenol, and 2 cups of coffee in powder form that is instantly absorbed into the bloodstream and knocks
snorts them daily.
Like that.
Do not tell Brittany about that. Holy shit.
Look, these are Goodies powders.
I'm not an addict. I just have a lot of pain.
Thank you. Me too. I'm not an addict. I can stop anytime I like.
Over here.
Goodies headache powder has been around for so long that Richard Petty used to do commercials about it when he still raced.
Yes.
Okay.
Goodies was on his car. It was STP and Goodies.
Yep, it was one of his sponsors.
STP and Goodies.
That's a long time ago, guys. I'm just saying.
So I did the word count earlier while I was writing, and these pages at this font size average 275 words a page. At that rate, I'm currently on page 50.5 of 80.
Nice.
Now, the most wonderful thing about this is that I've already read it, so I don't never have to put a fingerprint on it.
You open that up and you read it. I don't ever want to see my books preserved. I want to see them read till they're falling to pieces.
I want to see mine.
What's that, Ron?
I want to see mine both. I want to see people buy 2, like I used to do. 1 for reading, 1 for bagging. There you go. That's what I want to see.
When I first started collecting in the 70s, I don't think collecting that way was even a thing.
It wasn't. It wasn't a thing.
Right. We didn't have bags.
It wasn't until grading.
You laid them down flat, and I had a boot box that my boots had come in, and they were the perfect size for my comic books. And when I got that boot box full, about that thick, y'all, I thought that was a huge collection.
It didn't become what it is until grading, because that's when speculation came in. That's when they started going, hey, that next number 1 could be worth a
The 90s ruined the comics.
They did. 90s is my favorite decade of comics, and it did ruin comics. I completely agree. I know.
The 70s, the Silver Age stuff.
I love it. I'm reading 70s shit right now. That's what I'm talking about, man. I just read something that reminded me that Sif had blonde hair in the beginning. Okay, and Loki cut her hair off to piss Thor off, hoping that Thor wouldn't love her anymore because she didn't have hair anymore, right? And
I remember
told
Captain
Loki
Marvel.
to go.
Yeah.
Loki go to the dwarves and have the dwarves make her new hair. Only the hair they made was black, and that's why.
Wasn't that really though? Wasn't that one of the tales from Asgard?
Yeah, it's in Annual 11.
Yeah, but that's in Norse mythology also that Loki did that to Sif and Thor went and had new hair made for her. Yeah.
But I mean, I've forgotten all about that until I picked this book up from the 70s and I'm reading it again. Why am I reading a 70s book again? Because today's books suck.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
And I'm going to go listen
The
to Stevie
70s,
Stevie
80s,
Nicks'
and
greatest
90s
hits.
kick the shit out of the 2020s when it comes to comics.
I'm going to go
but
listen to
that's
Stevie Nicks' greatest
not hard
hits
to do.
and
Ew.
pray for all of you.
Ew.
Up Steve Nick. Steve
Hey
Nick.
everyone. Bold Castle. What was that? Bold Castle?
Yeah, Boldcat.
Cat.
Boldcat Studios.
Oh,
That's
okay.
Stephen B. That's our boy Stephen B. Does the
I
draw
read that.
stream on Saturday.
Sorry, I had to.
Hey, he goes out on Dark Diff's karaoke stream too. Stephen B. goes out there and sings. It's cool.
Nice.
Sorry, Stevie.
All right, baby. You
Never
wanna?
listen to this.
Yes,
What's
that banner at the bottom is a typo. You'll have to forgive Brittany for that.
90s wins. Oh, you son of a bitch.
The
My
80s.
ass.
I don't.
My ass.
The
No
80s.
way. That's
I'll put it
cheating.
this way. I've got on my YouTube, I have an 80s playlist that has 475 songs, all of which any person alive would recognize within the first measure. I've got like 10 songs from the 90s.
That's a
Oh,
you. That's
I will help you out.
Close
Like I
contact.
bet you if we spend enough time together, I could get you to appreciate the 90s.
No,
You're
I lived through
here,
it. I lived through it. I lived through it. And it took
I
a lot.
lived-
Look, it took a lot of these to get through the 90s.
I can hear it.
nuts.
I can hear it in Doc's voice. You're not
So
going to
come
bend him
back.
to anything.
I don't think you'd win me over either. I'm just saying. It's
Sorry.
I don't know. I can't. I think the 90s has some amazing music.
It's
Amazing music.
a little crush.
I'll put it like this. I did 2
That
years in
sounded more
prison.
like the 80s,
Hold on.
though.
Matt,
That was the 90s.
I know
I
it
did
was,
2
but
years.
it sounded like 80s.
Check this out, guys. I did 2 years in prison in the 80s and still had more fun in the 80s than I did in the 90s.
Jesus Christ.
Just
Wow.
Goodies. This is, however, a
Silica.
concession to the 21st century. Shut up. These used to come in nice little origami folded wax
they were
packets.
folded up like a cocaine seal, guys.
But here's the true story, you guys. True story. I don't know if you guys know, but I'm a retired counselor. I specialized in mood disorders and in addiction. And I'm driving home one night after doing a night group, and it's hot, so I've got the window down. I've got a mind-bending headache, so I take a goodies powder. The powder blows all over my face. I have to pull over, and I'm steadily doing this. And all I could think was, all I need is a cop to roll up on me right now while I've got powder all over my face and in my goatee, and try to explain it's a goodies powder, man.
Yeah. Mhm. I got one thing I got to say to Anthony. Okay, I got one thing I got to say to Anthony real quick. Dude, that's really fucking hard to read for an old guy. Do something about your business card, man. Go on. Little tiny shit, you can barely see it. I can't see it.
This is my business card
I can't see
right
it.
here.
Do you see what I'm saying? No, Ant, man, do something about that business card, dude. I can't see that shit. I can't even
you
see
see
it
my
when I'm
card?
blowing it up with this.
Do you see my card?
Yes,
I like it.
it's a snail.
I'm too
Well, I
salty.
mean, he asked about the book. The book's fine, man, but your business card sucks ass. Fix it.
All right, Britt, you want to play us out? We got to get to the kids, honey.
Yeah. Okay.
Me too.
Doc, I'll just come to your show
Bye,
and
guys.
get yelled at there.
Ron,
I'll see you
Britt and
Wednesday,
I will
Britt.
beat up on you. We'll beat up on you later.
You're all welcome Wednesday to get your ass kicked.
All right. Okay. Bye, guys.
See you guys. Bye.
Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Fan Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Huh? So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
Comic Books for Kids provides comic books to kids in hospitals and cancer centers across the U.S. It's a place where we can all work together to make sure every child has a comic book. 100% of all proceeds go towards the kids. It's about making a difference, and while they're in the hospital, allowing them to fly like a superhero, battle dragons, or rescue teddy bears. We are in every state in the country and now support over 160 hospitals. Every month, we add more.
Visit cb4k.org.